Death is something every human being will face, yet many of us rarely talk about it openly. In this episode of ZeroDay Learner, I reflect on why we fear death and whether that fear is really about death itself or about suffering, illness, losing our independence, and leaving our loved ones behind. Along the way, I share how the Buddhist idea of impermanence helped me see life differently. I'm not trying to tell anyone what to believe. I'm simply sharing my own thoughts and asking questions that have stayed with me throughout my life. I also reflect on my mother's illness, the fear of watching someone we love suffer, and how thinking about death has taught me to appreciate ordinary days, love my family more deeply, and be grateful for the time we have together. I don't know exactly what happens after death, but I do know that while we are alive, we have the opportunity to choose kindness, gratitude, and love. If these reflections encourage you to think about your own journey, I'd be honored if you subscribe to ZeroDay Learner. Thank you for watching. Episode 7, Part 1. Why are we afraid of death? Hello, my name is Thao. Welcome to ZeroDay Learner. Before I begin, I'd like to say something. I'm not trying to tell anyone what to believe. I'm simply sharing my own thoughts and asking questions that have stayed with me throughout my life. If my journey encourages you to reflect on your own, then these conversations have been worthwhile. Today's question is one that every human being will face. Why are we afraid of death? When I was younger, I didn't think much about death. It felt far away, something that happened to other people. But as I grew older, I began to realize that every one of us is walking toward the same destination, no matter where we were born, no matter what religion we follow, no matter how much money we have. One day, our lives will come to an end. That realization doesn't make me feel hopeless. Instead, it makes me appreciate life more. I've often heard people say they are afraid of death. I understand that feeling. Death is one of life's greatest mysteries. No one living can explain it with complete certainty. Some people believe in heaven. Some believe in rebirth. Some believe our spirit returns to nature. Others believe that death is simply the end of our conscious life. As for me, I honestly don't know, and I'm comfortable saying that. One idea that has made me think deeply comes from Buddhism. It teaches that everything is impermanent. Nothing stays the same forever. The seasons change. Children grow into adults. Mountains slowly wear away. Even the strongest trees eventually fall. And one day, every one of us will take our final breath. When I first heard about impermanence, I thought it sounded sad. Today, I see it differently. Perhaps impermanence is one of the reasons life is so precious. If nothing lasted forever, then every sunrise, every conversation, every laugh with our family becomes something to treasure. People sometimes ask me whether I fear death. The honest answer surprises even me. Right now, I don't think I'm afraid of being dead. When death comes, my breathing will stop. The pain of this body will end. The worries I carry will no longer belong to me. Perhaps there will be peace. Or perhaps there will be another journey. I don't know. But strangely enough, that isn't what I fear the most. In the next part, I'd like to share what I think I fear much more than death itself. And perhaps many of us do. Episode 7, Part 2. Why are we afraid of death? As I continued thinking about death, I realized something. Maybe I'm asking the wrong question. Maybe I'm not really afraid of death. Maybe I'm afraid of suffering. When I was younger, I didn't understand why Buddhism speaks so often about suffering. I wondered, why focus so much on suffering? As I grew older, I began to understand. Every one of us experiences suffering in one form or another. Sometimes it is physical pain. Sometimes it is sadness. Sometimes it is loneliness. Sometimes it is watching someone we love slowly become weaker. When I imagine my own future, I don't think about death first. I think about illness. I think about losing the ability to walk. I think about lying in bed, unable to care for myself, unable to go where I want, unable to enjoy the simple things that once brought me happiness. That is what I fear, not because I think suffering makes life meaningless, but because suffering can take away the freedom we once took for granted. Perhaps that is one reason the Buddhists spoke so much about suffering. Whether every teaching of Buddhism is true, I cannot say. I'm still learning. But I do think it asks an important question. How do we find peace even when life includes pain? That question speaks to me. I remember when my mother became very ill. The doctors said there was little they could do, and she came home with hospice care. I cried, not because I wanted to deny that death is part of life. I cried because I love my mother. I wished I could protect her. I wished I could stop her from suffering. But I couldn't. Then something unexpected happened. Little by little, she became stronger. She wanted to stand. She wanted to walk. She wanted to look after her things again. Watching her reminded me of something important. As long as there is life, there is often a desire to keep living. Today, when I think about death, I don't only think about the end of life. I think about the time before the end. How can I live with dignity? How can I accept help when I truly need it? How can I continue to appreciate life, even when life becomes difficult? I don't have complete answers, but asking these questions has already changed the way I live. Perhaps that is the beginning of wisdom, not finding every answer, but learning to ask better questions. Episode 7, Part 3. Why are we afraid of death? As I think about growing older, another question comes to my mind. What happens when we can no longer take care of ourselves? For many people, that may become one of life's greatest challenges. We spend years learning to walk on our own, to work, to provide for our families, to become independent. Then one day, life may ask us to depend on someone else. That isn't easy to accept. Sometimes I imagine myself lying in a hospital bed or needing help every day. I don't think that frightens me because I would be embarrassed. I think it frightens me because I wouldn't want the people I love to carry that weight because of me. I love my family. I want them to enjoy their own lives. If one day they need to care for me, I hope they do it because of love, not because of guilt. And if that day comes, I hope I can receive their kindness with gratitude instead of shame. Then I remember my mother. When my brother and I were too young to walk through the jungles, she carried us. She never asked whether it was convenient. She never measured our worth by how much effort it took. She simply loved us. Perhaps that is what families do. Sometimes we are the ones carrying others. Sometimes we are the ones being carried. Neither role lasts forever. That is also part of impermanence. Thinking about death has changed the way I see life. It reminds me to be kinder while I still can, to tell the people I love that I love them, to forgive a little sooner, to worry a little less, and to appreciate ordinary days that once seemed unimportant. Perhaps we cannot choose when our journey ends, but we can choose how we live until that day arrives. For me, that is where I find peace, not in knowing every answer about death, but in trying to live a life filled with love, gratitude, and kindness while I am still here. Thank you for spending this time with me. If these reflections encourage you to think about your own journey, I'd be honored if you subscribed to ZeroDay Learner. I'm Thao. Take good care of yourself. Take good care of your family. And never stop learning.